Good morning and welcome everyone to Writers Uncut. I am your co-host Cheyenne Young and I'm waiting for Deirdre to join and then we will get started on our topic today. There she is. Let me add her.
Hi, Vanessa. Thanks for joining us. Hey.
Hello. Sorry, I'm trying to get adjusted here and the light's really bad. Hi.
Hi.
Hold on. Bear with me for 1 minute.
So, are you in a different location?
No, I'm in the same spot, but I'm trying to put my phone on the computer like you do, but it's not
Do
working.
you have a pop socket?
It's like it's similar to that,
Okay.
but it's like
Yeah.
it keeps sliding. I don't know why.
Well, I just squished my pop socket onto the top of my laptop screen. It's extremely official and professional. It works.
um, it's like a little thing that attaches to it. I don't know. Okay, there we go. Okay.
Awesome. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great. Are you cold over there?
Yes, we've had like a real sorry, I might have to change up my situation here. We've had a real like a California winter. We've had a lot of rain and it's just been like in the 50s and 60s, which is like, I know like I shouldn't complain. I shouldn't say a word. But for us, that's like it's chilly. I'm like, oh, I wouldn't want to live anywhere where it's colder than this.
Oh, I couldn't. It was like 36 degrees this morning, but it warms
Oh,
up to
wow.
like 60 or 70.
Yeah.
So the drastic changes gives everyone in my family like massive sinus problems, but I'm okay. Like
Hmm.
I don't get those issues, but I do have a bionic ankle that hates when it gets hot or cold.
Yeah.
So, and I found it's worse if I actually get in the car. Like if I go drive, if I'm in the house, it's not too much. If my
Yeah.
foot feels that wintry cold air, then I'm just debilitated. It
Yeah.
hurts so
Yeah.
bad.
That's like, but yeah, so I'm all cozy today. I have my thing on and I have like fuzzy slippers and I've just been wanting to like curl up and read and not do anything.
Well, I get that too. I go through these phases where I don't read as much when I'm drafting a lot.
Yeah.
So it's like in between the drafts where I will just read a ton of books and I'm almost there. I say almost. I have until March 8th, so I guess I'm not almost there. But it's like as soon as I finish a book, I just cannot wait. I've got this list of books. I cannot wait to just lounge around for like a solid week straight and do nothing but read. And
Yeah.
it's calling to me. It's calling to me. But
Sounds-
when I'm super busy and I'm working on a manuscript, I really can't take too much time to read. And, and sometimes I do, but it's like, I don't like only spending 1 hour a day on a book. I really want to spend all day with it.
like
And
reading.
that's kind of how I write my books too. It's like, I don't want to spend a long time. I want to get them written quickly and I want to read quickly because nothing annoys me more than having to set a book down and go about boring life stuff?
Yeah.
So, and that's one of the great things about audiobooks too. I can listen to them all day long and just ignore my whole family, which was great. They never say
I
anything important anyway.
like when you're reading and then you have to step away from it, it's real, like it stays with you and you're just like, I just want to get back to my book and like all your adult responsibilities and all that stuff. It's like,
Or it's kind of like when you're in the movie theater and the movie's over and you have to get up and walk outside and it's still daylight or something. It's like the world's still going on. You're like, oh, I've been so absorbed in this movie. That's what I
exactly.
feel with books. And if I
Yeah.
just sit down for a couple chapters, I don't want to have to get up and go back. Unless
Yeah.
it's a bad book, in which case it makes it easier. But I've been so picky with what I read lately that I know I'm going to love it. So, I anyway, and then I've got the problem with wanting to reread books when my
I,
TBR pile is huge.
I've been doing that a little bit too, and I don't know why. I'm wondering like maybe if I'm reading them too fast. I'm not like kind of absorbing or I don't know. But I've actually didn't ever used to reread books at all, and just lately I've been doing that more. And I'm like, is my writer like I'm reading it first as a reader, and then I want to read it again as a writer? I don't know. It's strange.
Well, I think, and I feel bad saying this, but I feel like over the last maybe 2 years, maybe even 3 years, In the young adult community, because that's where I live. I don't live in any other book genres very often. In the young adult community, there are several books, just dozens of books a year that get very hyped, and you see them everywhere, and everyone's raving about them. And I've been really disappointed by these overhyped books, like for a few years now. And so I find myself being wary of wanting to read books that are extremely popular because I worry, are they going to disappoint me? And lately, it's like I get disappointed that I want to go back to something I know I love.
No, yeah.
So like right now, like Leigh Bardugo's King of Scars just came out. I read the first chapter and I was like, okay, I can't. I want to read the rest of them. So I'm going back and I'm reading her other books.
Are you?
Because, yeah, it's like I just want to live in her beautiful, amazing worlds for just a little bit longer. Because once I read that, then I got to wait however long till the next book comes out, because I believe this is going to be a duology. So it's like, and then I think, why am I doing this? I've already read the books. I need to be reading my gigantic, embarrassingly huge stack of TBRs and all the books on my Kindle too. And it's like I'm tired of being disappointed. I just want to sink back into something I know I'm going to love. Yeah. And that makes it really hard sometimes.
So I have a question. Do you find that you would prefer to wait for like a whole series or a duology to have been released? Or are you just like, okay, I can be patient, I can deal with this. I don't need to have all the books in front of me so that I can kind of like read them one after another?
Both.
Yeah.
I have found, because I read Julie Kagawa's The Iron Fae series. Okay. I started reading those after all the books were out, and I loved them so much. I bought the book set, and I just read through them all, and I was like, I am so glad I waited because this was so much fun. Yeah. But then there's, and I also read Marie Lu's Prodigy series all through at once. Me too. So I think I really do prefer when you have them all. But like with Harry Potter, I read each of those when they came out. That was over my entire childhood. Like I remember I couldn't drive when the second one came out. And then by like the fourth, fifth, sixth one, I was driving myself to go buy the book. So, and then I think I was 20, I don't remember. I was like in my early 20s when the last one came out, and I already had my kid and everything. Yeah. So it's like, that series was like my entire life, and I wouldn't have done it any other way because I was really excited. Because back then, if you remember, like the Harry Potter fandom was real. Like everyone was speculating, and I went to Harry Potter conventions where we would sit on panels and talk about what we thought was going to happen and stuff. So that was like an experience. Yeah. But like, for every other series, I really just wish I could wait until they were out. But I've made the mistake of reading a few books right now where the whole series isn't done. And it's killing me. So I do not do well with waiting.
Well, see, I know that about myself. So sometimes I preempt myself, or I do have like the long TBR. So I'm like, you know what? I can wait a while and not read this book, and then come, get to it when I know the other one's going to be releasing soon, or when it already has, and just sort of hold off. But it's like this tease. It's like this test I have with myself. And it's not nearly as satisfying as just being like, I want that, like that, the Leigh Bardugo's, am I saying it right? Leigh or Lee?
Lee? I've always thought it was Lee.
Lee, okay.
I don't know. I haven't been able to meet her in real life, unfortunately. Hopefully soon.
But like I see the shiny gold book and I'm like, I want it. But actually going back and reading the other 3 books is actually a really, really good idea. So maybe I'll do that, and that'll kind of satisfy until it'll be like close enough. But I also, what I sometimes do is I'll reread right before the new one comes out. I'll reread the last one again. So that's where that rereading books has been coming in lately. And that's that
was my plan, but I was so busy I haven't been able to start rereading them before the book came out. But another point that I want to bring up, as authors, we're actually being very bad people, because when a series comes out, if enough people don't buy the first 1 or 2 books of the series, the rest of them might not come out. So it's really a catch-22, because it's like you want to support the books that you love so that the author will keep selling more books and the rest of the series will be completed, because I've known a few series that just stop. And a lot of these are with kind of smaller publishers, or they meant for it to be a 3rd book and they never get it because enough people aren't buying it. So it really is kind of a catch-22. And if it's an author I love, one of my auto-buy authors, I pre-order no matter what, which is funny. Like with Lee's newest book, I saw that it was coming out and I was like, oh crap, I gotta go buy it. And then I realized I pre-ordered like 6 months ago. I was like, oh, that's right. I'm obsessed with her books. Of course I pre-ordered it. So, you gotta support, but I really have found that I really only do that with authors that I already trust and love.
Yeah.
because I have been burned so badly over the last couple years, and I think it might be publishers' faults. I don't know, because it's like there will be this select few books for every publishing house that you see all over the internet. They are super hyped, they are super popular, and I read them and I'm disappointed.
Yeah.
And I wonder, was I just expecting too much out of it because I heard so much about it? Or was it really not that good of a book? So lately, it's like I really only auto buy my favorite authors that I already know.
Yeah.
And I wait until a book comes out to where that I decide. And one of my favorite things is checking the book out from the library. And then if I love it, I buy it for my collection.
Yeah.
Or I will download the sample for Kindle. Yeah. Read the first few chapters, and then I don't know if I want to keep reading it or not. But it's like I've just been so burned lately. And I wonder if this happens in other genres or if it's just kind of a young adult thing. Because in young adult, the books get really hyped, like super hyped. And, so... And I've also been, I think I told you this, I don't remember who I told this, somebody, that for the past several months, I've been kind of reading older books. I've been going back and finding books that were released 5-6 years ago that I haven't read yet, and I'm enjoying them more than a lot of the new ones, which is really disappointing.
I wonder, like with anything, there are trends, and sometimes, you have marketing teams or people within publishing houses that are, they're chasing that, or they're coming from a perspective of, the bottom line or whatever it is. And other times you have, employees, people that are really behind the book because they believe in it. And so I think some of it is like a trickle down from that, like what we're seeing, like all the hype and stuff from maybe books that aren't as captivating as they could be. I don't know. It is disappointing. Yeah. But yeah. I have my tried and true authors that I love, and I like just religiously get their books. And then I have when I'm not sure, I do the same thing. I download the sample, I give the first 10% a chance, and as long as I'm like invested, then I'll end up usually getting it or adding it to my TBR. I also have a long TBR, but I'm laughing right now because so this is Writers Uncut for those of you who are joining us right now, and we are writers, but also we are readers, and this is what happens when you get writers and readers. We just could talk about books forever and ever and ever.
Oh, and let me interject with something you just said, because we have no itinerary because we're uncut. We are writers and therefore we are readers. And I get incredibly insulted when people say, do you like to read books? And I found it's been some family members or just neighbors or regular people that find out you're a writer that aren't really in the book community, because if you're in the book community, obviously. But I recently had a family member, it was about a year ago, say, do you like to read? Do you ever read? And I was like, are you being insulted right now? Like, why would I be a published author if I didn't read? What are you talking about? Like, I read 800,000 times more frequently than I write. Like,
yeah.
Yes, if we're writers, we're also readers. Don't ask a writer if they're also a reader, because to me, that's just really insulting. That's like asking a doctor, did you go to med school? Like, I hope so. He's your doctor. So anyway, we have a comment from Jen. She said, what I do is buy the books and just collect them on my TBR rack until the others come out. I have been known to do that for my auto-buy authors. Also, do you have one of those really cool rolly racks? Have you seen those? Like, a lot of people have been posting them on Instagram. It's like a little, like a library cart, but like a mini one.
Yeah.
I have to get one. I'm so heavily influenced by Instagram. Like, I've seen people have them and they call it their TBR cart. So it's like the book doesn't make it on your shelf until you've read it. And I was like, I have to have one. I have to have one. So
yeah, it's like a holding area.
Yeah.
Will you post a picture of one or like repost someone's thing later on your Instagram so that I can see what you mean?
Yes, they're so cute and they're built up and they're great for taking pictures of. So I don't know. It's like I have to get one eventually, because right now I'm doing the method. Whose method was it? I can't remember. Gosh, maybe it was Mariah. Yes, Maya Reed's. She had the books that she hadn't read yet on her shelf. She like turned them sideways, or like put them, you know what I mean, down, so you could see like the bottom of the book sticking out of the bookshelf. And that's what I've done with my books. But I fix them if I take a picture for Bookstagram. But I like flip them all down, and then I know I haven't read them yet.
Oh, I like that.
So yeah, but now I really want a cute cart.
I like the cart idea because I have very limited bookshelf. Like I have a beautiful bookshelf and I love it, but there's only so much space and I have a small house. So I like having the cart because then I can kind of like, I can tuck it away if I need the space and then have it. Yeah. That's cool. Oh, Jen says she got hers at Michael's for $30. Wow.
Nice.
And Michael's
Nice.
has coupons, so you can get like if you
They
get a
do.
coupon.
I have one right down the road for me. I should go.
It's dangerous.
I'll go now.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, so today I think we wanted to, if anyone watching has any questions, please pop them in the box.
Yes.
We were going to talk about writer slumps.
Which is actually what we're talking about is a great, I was thinking about this before about our topic or potential topic, and I didn't think of this, but reading is really, if you're in a writer's slump, I mean, it can go in two different directions, of course, so don't ever compare yourself, but reading is a great, I think, distraction or just kind of a way to reset your mind. If you're in a writer's slump, if you're just like having a hard time getting the words out or getting to the keyboard or whatever it is that's making you feel like you're in a slump, reading is
100%.
perfect thing to do any day of the week. But
it's like an instant cure. It's like the medication we need to get out of it. Because I get so inspired by reading books, and it's this weird, like, subliminal, subconscious kind of inspiration. It's not like I'm reading and looking at every single sentence and saying, okay, I'm going to write a sentence just like that. I'm going to write a sentence just like it's not that. It's like you get absorbed in the book and the story, and suddenly your mind's in story mode, I guess, and you want to go back and write. So I really love to read authors that inspire me, like Leigh Bardugo. I like to read my favorites over again. I like to read new books. Like, just reading is a great way to get out of a slump. Mm-hmm. And like I was telling Deirdre, I really wanted to talk about slumps because I feel like I'm heavily in a writing slump right now. Yeah. And I think a lot of my persona on this show is I like to write really fast, and I write 5,000 words or more per day, and I get all my drafts done in under a month. I'm a super fast writer. And well, yes, that's true. That's when I'm on, and like when I'm really in the zone. And sometimes you just get burnt out. And I've been feeling for months now. I've been maybe for even a whole year, because last year, the Christmas of 2017 is when I shattered my ankle and I couldn't walk for 6 months. And like, I didn't get any work done, and it was just this huge slump. And I thought I would be able to bounce back. And I don't feel like I've really fully bounced back since then. Mm. And it's hard. And I've been emailing Deirdre saying, like, I'm in a slump. Like, it's already 1 p.m. and I haven't done anything. And I used to, for years prior to this, I would have 5,000 words written by about 11 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. And it's like, I'm just not feeling it. Yeah. So do you go through that?
I do. I think, I feel like I'm in like a heavier place right now, actually. Yesterday, we didn't do our personal updates, but yesterday I finished the manuscript that I was working on. And I had to obviously I had to physically bring myself to the laptop every day, but I had to just do this. You'll thank yourself when you're done. Just do it, get it done. And that's not necessarily the kind of energy that I want to bring to my work, because I don't want that to translate onto the page. So I want to have a little more enthusiasm for what I'm writing. And kind of tacking back to what you were saying about, what we were saying about reading as a distraction or a way to kind of like reset and to get into the right frame of mind for writing. Also reading craft books, because sometimes when we're in a slump, it's not necessarily us, it's the story, and we're not feeling it. We're not like, yay, this is what I want to be writing right now. And sometimes for those of us, like a ghostwriting or whatever, sometimes you have to write things that you're not necessarily pumped about.
I think that's my problem right now.
Yeah.
It's because when I finish around mid-March, I'll be done with my ghostwriting project right now. And then I'm dedicating 2 months to writing a new book for myself to send to my agent. Yeah. And it's like, I'm fantasizing about that book. I cannot wait to write it. Like, I know I'm still inspired, still have a passion for writing in me, but I can't start working on it yet. And so the project that I'm getting paid to write, it's like, I don't feel like doing it. I'm having so writing we call it a job, and it is a job, but it's so much more than that. It's like, you have to be wanting to be creative to be successful at it. So it's just, I don't even know how I'm going to come out of this slump right now. It's just...
You'll come out of it. I think one of it is time. Part of it is time. But then I was listening to a podcast, Stephen Pressfield?
I don't think so.
He wrote, hold on, let me look. He wrote, why don't I see it? Turning Pro. He wrote Turning Pro, No One Wants to Read Your Shit. He wrote a bunch of, pardon my language if you have children. Um, uh, he wrote a couple books that are more about the craft of writing and about the mindset. And he's an older fellow. Like, I think he's probably in his 60s or 70s. So he's been doing this for ages and ages, and has sort of seen, all the things, and has now in the modern day. And he says that he says a lot of things, but the difference between a professional writer and a dabbler, or a person who calls themselves a writer, is like, even when you don't want to do it, you still do it most of the time. And so when you're in a slump, it's a fine line, I think, between like just totally checking out and being like, yeah, I'm going to get to that. And, then, if you're not writing, like, you're not going to feel that good about it. But if you just kind of push through it, and that's kind of what I just pushed through it. And it's that, that idea that done is better than perfect. And then, like, you love revising, like, you can go back and fix everything that you just weren't like, wasn't happening. But I think what I started to say before was, sometimes when I do feel like I'm in a slump, or I'm just not enthusiastic about a project, it's actually like I took the wrong turn in the story. Like, I brought it in the wrong direction, and that's not where it was meant to go. And so sometimes it's a matter of like regrouping, and I find a lot of resistance in that. It's like, I already wrote it. Like, I don't want to go back and like change stuff. Like, I'm 20,000 words like into that.
Oh yeah.
Or whatever.
Oh yeah.
So tedious. But I think sometimes when we're in a slump, I think it's important to like ask ourselves deep down, like, what is the problem? Like, where is this coming from? So sometimes it's burnout. And I think that's where you're at. Like, you've just been pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing. And I think in sports, I think they call it pressing. So like in basketball, like athletes, they will just like go so hard, and then like it's a matter of like diminishing returns. Like, they're not improving. It's not working for them. And so that's when you have to step back and do what you're doing, and just sort of like, you're still writing, obviously, but you're just kind of regrouping, and in that mode, we're giving yourself a little bit of breathing space and grace to not keep pushing. But then there are other times when we're in a slump, and it's more like, I just don't wanna do it.
Well, that's me. So Jennifer said, when you've been in a slump, how do you get the momentum going again? I've gotten myself to sit down and work on it periodically, but I can't seem to get that habit back. And I think, how I always say, like, when it comes to writing, take what works with you and what doesn't. And writing a book, like, every book is different. I think every slump is different too.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I've been in slumps where, like what you said, like, the book isn't working, and that's why I'm in the slump. Like, I need to go back and fix my plot, and then it all comes together like magic, and I can write.
Yeah.
And right now, and then sometimes I just set the book down and I'll read a book or two, and then I'm so inspired and ready to get back into it that it cures it instantly. Yeah. And right now, I think one of my heavy problems, which a lot of our viewers might not have, is I'm doing ghostwriting. So I have an outline, and I have to write a book a specific way because it will be published for another author, and it's a job. It's a contract type job. So I don't have any leeway. It's not one of my own books. I can't just say, you know what, I'm gonna set this aside and work on something else. Like, it has to get done, and it has due dates. Yeah. So that slump is so hard, and when I'm writing like that, or writing with a deadline in mind, you really have to treat it like a job. And so sometimes you just have to force yourself to do it, even though that's not always my best creative advice, because when you force yourself to write, sometimes it will show. But again, it's all in the revising. But she said, like, I'll sit down and work on it periodically, but I can't seem to get the habit back. That's the thing, is you have to make it a habit.
Yeah. And
because I was traveling last week, and then my husband was sick, and now my kid's sick. And so it's like I finally sat down and wrote yesterday or the day before, and I get a call from the nurse saying, come pick up your sick kid. So it's like, oh, great, that's a 30-minute waste of my time to go pick up my sick kid. Then I got to take care of my sick kid. Not her fault. But you know what I mean? It's like, so then I get derailed, and then I'm not in work mode anymore. And so that's a whole day that's just wasted. And it's like, I feel like every slump, I get out of it in a different way. So I don't really know what advice to give other than don't give up. Don't derail too long. Take a break, but not too long of a break.
Yeah. Yeah.
And read a book.
I stand by that each slump is slightly different. That's kind of what I was saying, like, really examine where the source is. But I'll add to your question, Jen. Roseanne Cash, she, like, famous musician, like, whatever, everyone's heard of her, right? She, I I forget the exact story, but she had like a dream or something, and it was very humbling, and she realized like even though she was successful, she needed to keep improving and keep at her craft and keep kind of producing, and not just sort of like rest on her laurels and be like, oh, like, great, I'm done, whatever. But in doing that, it's my understanding of the story is that she became kind of burnt out and was like kind of creatively like feeling not really sure or not really inspired. So what she started doing was just some other creative outlet. So she started painting and just, sort of doing something that's still creative. I think I've said this before here on Writers Uncut, something still creative, but without words. So while reading can be super helpful, it can also be like, maybe your slump is because you're not really liking your writing at the moment, which happens to every author. We all at different points hate our writing.
Well, you just inspired me. Maybe I should go get a puzzle, because that's what I usually do.
Yeah. So something
puzzles or crafts. Yeah.
You're using your creative mind. You're invested in something. You're focused, which is another part of it. There's so many distractions nowadays. Writing requires so much focus that it's like something where you can focus on it, and even coloring book.
I think that's another one of my problems too, because if we're talking about writing habits, I write in the morning, and what I have done for months, if not years, is my phone has a setting to where I can block everyone but include a couple people. So I include my daughter, the school's phone number, and my husband, and I will put it on do not disturb mode. And so for months and months, that's what I did. I would wake up, set my phone on do not disturb. I set it way across the room, and I would get on my bike desk, which you might be able to see right there, get on my bike desk. And I would work. And so my phone I would not check social media. It wouldn't ring. I wouldn't get any text at all unless it was an emergency for my family, which rarely, ever happened. And I was very productive. And over the last couple months, I've been very busy with various organizations and stuff that I've joined and been a part of, and with traveling. And it's like, I haven't been putting my phone on do not disturb mode. And I've noticed that I'll have 5 or 6 phone calls before lunch. And that's really been derailing me a lot. Yeah. And so another thing that might help with you, Jennifer, is put your phone on do not disturb. Don't check social media. Don't check anything. Tell your husband to shut up and go away. I swear I have a great marriage, you guys. Do what I do. Be like, here's a new Xbox game, honey. I love you. Bye. Just set aside some time for yourself. Yeah. And don't allow any distractions, and see if you can get back in that writing groove. And that might be one of my problems, is I got 1,200 words written before we started this, but I had to do some Etsy projects, some Etsy sales that I got overnight, and I was like running errands, and I was just doing all kinds of chores around the house that I only managed to write 1,200 words. And it's 11 a.m. here where I am, and I would normally be close to being done with my 5,000 words for the day, like back when I was more focused. Mm-hmm. So you really have to find a schedule that works for you. Yeah. If you love your story and you love your manuscript and you're just not focusing on it, get rid of the distractions. Yeah. And don't be afraid to be a little selfish about it, because no published author said, well, I give 100% of myself to everyone else and my book just magically came out. Like, I didn't have to work at all. Like, that doesn't happen. Right. You have to be a little bit selfish, and you have to dedicate time. 1 hour a day is just like 4% of your day. So 1 hour a day, tell everyone to leave you the hell alone, and you are writing. And I really wish I could show y'all the sign on my door. I'll think on it while we're talking, see if I can remember the quote. But it's a quote that says something like that. I don't want to get up because, anyway, whatever. So, I have a sign on my door that essentially says, leave me alone, I'm writing. And, oh, you froze. You're there. Are you there? Yes. You were standing still. You're like so still. I was like, is she frozen? But you have to take that time to give yourself the time to work on your manuscript, because that might be another reason you're in a slump, is your phone keeps going off, or you keep getting distracted, or you're hanging out with family. Like, I cannot work on my book in the living room with my family around. I know a lot of people that can. I can't really even work in coffee shops because I get distracted looking at everybody else. Yeah. So Jennifer said, I think I'm a little scared of this project. I love the story. It's just bigger than anything I've done before. Hey, I've got one of those, and it's still sitting in a notebook over there because I'm too scared to work on it. So I feel you.
As a person on the other end of that, went through like a big scary project that I was like, I don't know if I could do this. If you guys remember a few weeks, I mean, it was written a long time ago, but I was doing revisions and stuff.
But you got it done.
I got it done, and you'll be so pleased and thankful on the other end. Like, you'll just really be patting yourself on the back. Like, I did it. Maybe it's not perfect. Who knows? Sometimes I tend to get so close to my stories that I'm not really sure, but it's done. It's there. But I just want to backtrack a little bit. What you're saying is really treat your writing time as sacred. And if that kind of sense doesn't resonate with you, treat it as a job, and really create those boundaries. Shut down all your social media, and if that's hard, or you need to keep your phone on for emergency calls or whatever from family or whatever,
see if you have that setting. Yeah, there's like a setting where you can exclude numbers that you want to be able to come through, because that's great for me. It's like I only care about my husband, the school, or my kid calling. I don't care about anybody else for these few hours a day while I'm busy. So see if you can do that, because the phone is like my biggest distraction. Yeah.
And even if you have like your social media on your computer where you're writing, there are also apps or programs that you can have that'll block, you'll be like, okay, I'm going to be doing this for, 2 hours. Don't let me, you maybe need to click on a tab to like check a date or something like that, maybe in your project, but it'll block your social media or any selected websites that you don't want yourself to be like, oh, I'll just check for 5 minutes. I'll just check for 1 minute, whatever. And it's like a half an hour later and you're like lost in Facebook land. So those are some of our thoughts on writing slumps. I think I think also there's, we have seasons in our lives and also seasons on Earth. And I think for some of us who are more sensitive to that, like we kind of gain energy like from the sun or sunny days, or maybe we really feel invested when like it's in the dark of winter and like we're just like laser focused on our project to like the exclusion of everything else. I find that being aware of that and kind of like where you're at, and we are really our own power stations. Like you do really have to build your own momentum and your own energy in order to actually produce creatively, but we are influenced by other things going on in the world and even in our lives, obviously, with family and other jobs and all that stuff. So, also be aware when I was saying like kind of pinpoint the problem. Sometimes it is internal, but sometimes it's also stuff going on in your life that you really have no control over. But giving yourself that hour, like Shan said, or whatever amount of time you can give yourself, and say, this is my time. And you'll never be like, oh, I wish I hadn't spent that hour writing.
Wish I hadn't finished that manuscript. Yeah. So I found the quote that's on my door. It's a J.D. Salinger quote. Yeah. It says, I'll read my books and I'll drink coffee and I'll listen to music and I'll bolt the door. So I have that sign. It's a print I bought off Etsy. I have it on my door, and my office door is usually open. But when I close it, everybody knows to leave me alone because I'm busy and I'm working. And I wanted to update you. I did bring that recliner into my office. Remember when I was remodeling it? Yeah. So my parents gave me their old recliner when my ankle was broken. And it doesn't fit in our living room decor or anything. So I didn't know what to do with it. But I made room for it in my office, and it's amazing. So it's like, and it faces my bookshelves. So I will lounge in it and read or work on my computer. And yesterday I wasn't really feeling the bike desk because I'm in a massive slump. So I wrote my chapters with my Office Smart while I was on the recliner. So it was amazing. So sometimes like just kind of change up your environment. Yeah. And if the weather was better, I would go sit outside. I used to do that a lot. But here in Texas, we have about 10 days a year where it's not super hot or super cold, and you actually enjoy being outside. And when those days happen, I will go outside to write because it's like very inspiring and beautiful and fun. So you might just need to change up your environment a bit. And also sometimes at the end of the day, you just have to, point at yourself and get a little stern and say, get the work done. It's not going to write itself. I wish it did. You have to get it done. It's just like getting in shape and going to the gym, which unfortunately that might be easier because every time I get on a gym kick, I always say after about 2 weeks of forcing myself against my will to go work out, it gets easy and I actually enjoy it. But with writing, I can force myself to write for 2 weeks and it doesn't ever get any easier. Like it's still hard. So you have to have that heart for it because you can't really develop a habit. Like with your muscles, once your muscles aren't sore anymore and you're getting strong, it's actually fun to keep working out. But with writing, that doesn't happen to me. Like, and it's so different for every book because like Sasha, sometimes I joke that Sasha wrote itself. Like, I think that outline just kind of came to me. I didn't really change it. We changed a little bit in editing with my publisher, but that book just wrote itself. I swear. It was 27 days. I was like dancing, singing the sound of music, and there were birds chirping all around me while I was writing it. It was like this magical Disney experience, and I had no problems at all.
Yeah.
And that's never happened since then. I keep hoping that it will.
Yeah.
And then about the other books, like City of Legends, like those books kind of like ripped me to pieces. It was so hard to write, and I hated it at times. And I cared so much about the story, but I hated the process. But it eventually got done because I made myself sit down and work on it every day.
Yeah.
So, hey, Rachel, thanks for joining us. We are just kind of making stuff up as we go along, but we're also talking about writing slumps. So if you have any questions or anything, just pop them in the box. Otherwise, we're just going to keep talking.
Literally make stuff up as we go along. It's our job.
And if you are in a slump and don't feel like writing, start an Instagram show where you get to chat with your friend for an hour a week, and then you don't have to write.
I love that. I think that's a great idea. We should do it. Well, anyway, we are two hybrid authors. We have a collective 20 years of experience. So if you have questions, and if you're watching the recording of this on YouTube, and if you have questions for a future episode, please do ask in the comments or email us or DM us or whatever method of connection you want to use. So we want to put that out there. Like we're here to answer your questions. We're happy to just talk about books and writing all day, every day. But if you have things that are on your mind that you're curious about or been wondering about and don't know who to ask, we're here for you. So
I could talk a little bit about Florida.
Yeah, let's hear about it.
So last week I got to be an author at the Trinity Prep Author Fest in Orlando, Florida, and it was so much fun. I got to meet one of my imprint sisters, Wendy Brandt. She was great because she kind of hung out with me the whole time because like it's not fun being at these things by yourselves. But I met a ton of great authors, and we had some panels, and these kids were it was mainly kind of high school aged kids. It was open to the public, but I think it was mostly high school kids that were there, and they had such insightful questions, and they were just so fun to talk to. And I was like, these kids are so much cooler than I was at that age because I would have been too scared to say anything. But I signed a lot of books, and I met one girl who had, she had pre-ordered my book, so she had the Wish bracelet, and it was still on her ankle. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. And I was thinking afterwards, I was like, I should have taken a picture with her, but I didn't. I actually didn't take many pictures at all, and I regret it. But it's like you get so caught up in the moment and having a lot of fun that you don't remember to stop and take pictures.
Which is good.
I
mean, it's good to be present in the moment.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. But it was really fun, and it was a really great experience. And it's always so cool being around a big group of other authors, and especially when you have some, New York Times bestselling authors, and then some other authors that fit in with you, medium authors. You really get to learn from each other, and I've always noticed. Have you ever been to any of the fandom things like midnight book releases or movie premieres?
I have never done that. No.
So I was gonna say it's big here. I don't know. It might just be big everywhere. But I went to several of the Harry Potter midnight releases and all of the Twilight midnight book releases at Barnes & Noble from the second book on, not the first one. And I went to a bunch of Harry Potter, and I've been to a few others. I'm trying to remember which ones. Mostly Harry Potter and Twilight because they were so popular. And you go to the midnight release party, and one thing I've always noticed, and you get to the midnight release party at like 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening. So you stay all day. And it's like when a group of people who are all massive fans of the same thing get together, it's like you're all instant best friends.
Yeah.
And it's very cool for me as a huge introvert. Like I don't just go out and make friends. And like my husband will annoy me so much because we've moved to a few different places, and every time we move, he's like chatting with the neighbors and knows everybody's name. And I was like, I prefer to not speak to anyone if possible because it's so awkward, I'm not going to walk up and randomly introduce myself to my neighbor. So, which is terrible of me, but you know what I mean? Like I like to keep to myself. But when you go to like a fandom event, it's like everyone around there, I can just chat with them no matter how introverted you are. It's like you're all there for the same thing.
Yeah.
You all love the same thing. You just become friends, and it's like there's been these groups of friends that I'll make at all of these events. where we're just chatting and having a blast, and we're buying each other Starbucks, and it's like you spend the whole evening together, and they're your best friends for the night
Yeah.
because you're all part of the same fandom. And that really is what happens at an author convention. There is like one or two authors that might think they're better than everyone else and kind of keep to themselves, but which I won't name any names. But for the most part, everyone just really gets along, and the kids are great, and the readers are awesome. I had adults come up and tell me they loved my book, and it's like you feel like you're among, the like-minded people, and that's my favorite place to be. I get so much just energy and inspiration from stuff like that, and I really wish we had some more fandom type midnight releases to go to around here, because I don't know. I mean, I know they do that for like Star Wars and stuff, but I've never seen those movies. But it's just really fun being. Are you laughing at me for having not seen those movies? It's just really fun being, around a group of fans. Yeah, your people. And like, or when I go to the schools, and because talking to a school is one thing, and that can be hit or miss. But if your local high school has a writers club or a book club, then you're around those people, because those kids are there because they love books and they're excited to meet you. And it's like such a great experience. And I really wish we could have more of those, So it's like I am trying to go to any convention or anything I can get to where I can have those experiences of being around your people again, because it's just so inspiring.
I want to say one quick thing before you ask the question or read the question. I just want to say, we were talking about reading slumps or writing slumps before. So my recommendation, what came to mind when you were saying about the conventions and all that stuff, like it was really energizing. So take that energy, keep it, and bring it to the desk.
Well, it's so funny because I had such great energy, and then on the flight back home, you're like, I'm so tired, I lost it all. But in general, and you can remember that and hold on to that and look forward to the next time, because writing is such a solitary activity. Like it can be so boring, and I live in this office more than anywhere else in my house, and it's like we're just kept to ourselves. But so it's really fun to get out there. So do you want to read Rachel's question?
So she wrote, I had a much older traditionally published author ask me, since you're an extrovert, why do you write? Most writers are introverts. I know, but have you ever gotten a weird question like that?
You are definitely an extrovert, and I love it.
You may have missed Cheyenne saying at the beginning of our chat here, but she was saying someone in her family asked her if she reads. So it's like, it's just a tough question.
That's a weird question. Like, oh, you write books, so do you read too? No, lady, I don't even know how to read. I don't never seen a book in my life. Like, what? Anyway, I think extrovert writers are great, and I think it's really rude for someone to say, like, oh, you're an extrovert, why do you write? Because they're supposed to be introverts. Like, we're not all really shy weirdos. Like, some of us, like you, Rachel, because you're so sweet and just so nice, and we need extrovert writers like you, because you can kind of bring us out of our shell. Like, you're the person that helps us in our group. Because if it weren't for people like you and Tracy, I mean, I'm talking to her specifically because we're in the same RWA group, but it's like, if it weren't people like that would talk and be extroverted, it would be really harder for me to kind of make connections, because I keep so close to myself. And a lot of times in my life, people thought I was rude because I just don't talk. And I had, when this isn't related to writing, but when I was in the corporate world, I had this man I had never seen in my life pull me aside in the hallway and say, did I do something to make you mad? Do you have a problem with me? I was like, what are you talking about? I'm like 20 years old at this time. So I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, every single time I see you in the hallway, you don't smile or say hi to me or anything. And I was like, I'm sorry, have you said hi to me and I've ignored you? Because I can't imagine that I would do that. He's like, no, but you never take initiative to say hi to me. I was like, okay, what is your problem? Probably should have gone to HR with that. But it's like, I keep to myself. I'm not going to go out of my way to be bubbly and nice to strangers, because that makes me uncomfortable, and it's like, I'm not trying to come off as mean. So especially if you see me at some kind of book event, definitely come say hi, because I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just quiet and keep to myself. So do you read books, I think, would be the weirdest question I've ever been asked as a writer.
To kind of add to this conversation, so there's introverts, extroverts, and then there's ambiverts, which I think I actually am, because when I'm in a social situation, and maybe it's just from being older, but just age and stuff like that. But usually I rise to the occasion, and I bring it. I bring my energy. I bring conversation. It happens. But then when I get home, like I need to recover from that. It's very depleting, and so I think I think a lot of times, like this person that asked you that question, they're thinking about life and whatever from their perspective, which is normal, like no fault of their own, I guess. But you know, you see Cheyenne sitting at her table signing books and stuff, and she's just sort of like sitting there, and not like, hey guys, hey, whatever. It's like it's
That's
not.
just so hard for me. Yeah, I
It's
try
not
so hard to be,
being a
because I'm
jerk.
so happy. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
so happy that people are coming up to my table, and so I'm
right.
trying to be like,
And so
welcoming. But
like
it's
flipping it when you see someone
yeah,
like that, it's maybe not that they're like pissed off at the world. It's maybe like it's like actually like uncomfortable. I have a child that's like this. It's uncomfortable for them to put themselves out there. And so like physically or emotionally, whatever, that's real to them. And it's maybe if you're from a different perspective, coming from a different, viewpoint, whatever, like that might not occur to you. But I think it's so important for us to kind of put ourselves in other people's shoes for that moment and be like, oh, hey, I'm going to go take the initiative. Like that guy certainly could have said hi to you in the hall. Like,
yeah, because I was like, do you mean to tell me that I'm so involved in my own world that I ignored someone that said hello to me? Because I can't fathom ever actually, I would never do that on purpose, you know? I mean, he
right.
just was mad because apparently I walked down the hallway looking unfriendly and had never said hi to him. Which that's just a whole another part of the main reasons why I left the corporate world in the first place. Because
Yeah.
it's very hard to be in a male-dominated engineering world as a woman, especially one that's not bubbly and happy all the time.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so and I think a lot of writers are introverts, but it's really funny that you brought that up because while we were at that convention, I was actually, it might be a harmful stereotype that we're all introverts, because I was really surprised. There was probably more than half of the writers there were extremely extroverted.
Mm.
And sometimes to the point of like being annoying, because a lot of them would hog the whole panels and never let anybody else talk.
Yeah.
And I remember there was a point during the dinner where I was kind of looking around and I was like, a lot of these people are so much more outgoing than I am. And I had that moment of panic again because I've been accused of being mean by not being nice enough. And it's like, am I smiling enough? Am I saying hello to enough people? Am I being outgoing enough? And and it's hard. So I think as writers, especially as creative people, who we put ourselves in other people's shoes, whether they're imaginary people or not, to write our stories, like we need to be aware of that and treat everyone politely and with respect, and don't just assume that if someone's being kind of quiet and closed off that they're mean, because in my case it's not. I'm nice to everybody. I'm a Texan. Like I'm very polite, very friendly, but I don't like to make the first move. So
Yeah. I was going to add something and it like flew from my mind because I was reading comments. What was it? You were saying about, so I don't know if this ever happens to you, but like you're writing all day, like you're in your world, whatever. And then like everyone comes home or you go out or something and like you can't stop talking. You're just like Miss Chatterbox. Like sometimes when I'm so invested in my world, like coming out of that, I'm just like blah, 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 blah. And then other times I'm just like kind of like in a daze, like la 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 la, like they'll have to be like, hey mom, like out of bookland, like come back.
oh yeah, my family's fully aware of that. Yes. And a lot of it, and so like Rachel just said, she never thought I was mean, just quiet. That's another thing I get from non-bookish people. Like I will never forget when I first started dating my husband back before we were married. Like all of his friends were like, well, she's nice, I guess, but she's really quiet. Like what's wrong with her? I was like, because I'm being forced to meet a bunch of new people I don't want to meet. Like, hello. If all of his friends happened to be writers, they would have thought I was like the coolest, funnest person ever because I can open up to my own people. But yeah, and I do get that way a lot of times, and I think that's why, because you and we email each other almost every day. It's because it's like we're all alone in our writing world, and I would like to take a break from that and talk to you. And then when my family gets home, I do the same thing. I will chatter on about whatever writing thing that's going on, especially if there's like some Twitter drama or something. And my family's like, yeah, okay, they'll listen to me, but they don't get it. So it's like I like having writer friends, and I'm so lucky to have a lot of Houston area writer friends because we'll meet up for lunch. And it's like here I am, the quiet, kind of introverted person, and we're chatting a mile a minute for like that whole lunch. Like we do not stop because once you're out of your little solitary bubble and with one of your fellow writers, you can't shut us up.
Yeah, it's funny. It's a funny paradox. And that being said, it's a nice little segue to if you're not part of our Facebook group and you would like to join, we have a little community there. You'll be among your people, writers, aspiring writers, published authors, the whole like range of the spectrum. So if you have questions or you want to, talk about something that's been going on, or if you're in a slump and you want a little encouragement or cheerleading or support or coaching, whatever it is, it's facebook.com Writers Uncut, or no, facebook.com/groups/Writers Uncut group.
Yes, you could probably just search Writers Uncut and find us.
Yeah.
And definitely, if you're ever in any kind of slump or need to talk about anything, shoot us a message. I'm here to listen and talk. I will take over the conversation with all of my talking that I have built up inside of me. But if you try to introduce me to a group of strangers who are not involved in the book world, no, you better believe I'm going to stay quiet because it's so awkward. And it's that, so not an extrovert or an introvert, the what?
Ambivert.
Because I've never even heard of that. That might be me too, because like it's very different, like if I can even be at like a family reunion with family members and I don't want to talk to any of them. But if I'm with a group of complete strangers standing in line for a midnight movie release of our favorite movie, we're all best friends, you know? So it's like, it's really interesting how that works.
Yeah. And it's different in different situations. There's a great TED Talk by a woman, I'm blanking on her name, but she talks about like honoring introversion, which, obviously like
I think I've seen that one. That was good. Yeah.
It's great. And I read her book or listened to an audiobook, and I think she coined that term, or she talks about it or something, but it's very interesting because in different situations, different aspects of yourself will come out. And especially like if you connect with people like, at the writers conference or at conventions or whatever, it's like you have that common ground and you feel like, equally passionate about whatever it is. And it's like, it's exciting. But then if someone was just like, talking about the weather, it's like, well, okay, yeah.
Oh, small talk is the worst. I have this one neighbor who is so nice, and it never fails that I'm walking to check the mail at the same time that he is. I have no clue what his name is. He's like, "Hi, Cheyenne, how you doing? How's the weather? Blah, blah, blah. I heard about blah, blah." And I'm just like, please don't talk to me. Like, I'm so bad at small talk. But when it comes, like, my family's blown away because I also hate making phone calls, especially if there's a problem, like with my AT&T phone service. Like, I have my husband make all my calls. I have him make all my doctor's appointments, everything, because I can't do it. And it's like, I don't even like, when the waiter messes up my order at a restaurant, I can't correct them. Like, it's debilitating.
Yeah.
But then I say, I'm going to go talk to a classroom of high school students, and my husband and daughter are like, "You're going to what?" Yeah. But that's where I shine, Like, I enjoy public speaking when it's in regard to something where I feel safe, I guess, when it's my thing, which is writing and books.
And I think knowing that about yourself is really powerful. I think it's like when we criticize ourselves for that and we get down on ourselves, like, why can't I do this? Like, well, I think that's where it becomes a problem. But if you know that about yourself, like, then you can work with it and, either find a way around it or, just not do it.
Oh, I think I tell you, like, every now and then I'll make my own phone call and I'll be, like, very proud of myself. And it's taking me 15 minutes to build up to that.
Yeah. But you could call me or your agent and talk.
Yeah, I was going to say, but yeah, if it's a friend or something writing related, then I'm all on and I'm totally fine with it and I'm excited. But so it's really...
It's subjective.
Rachel just said, "I need her at that restaurant." Yes, like, my husband will do it. Like, he'll flag him down and be like, "We need more blah, blah, blah," or something, because I can't do it. It's so weird of me, which, like, my whole life, because especially with my stupid name, I would get called Cheyenne all the time. Like, my whole life, because I'm just quiet. And I thought that it was something wrong with me, that I couldn't talk to people. And then I find out, no, like, I'm actually really great at talking to people when I feel like I'm in my own element, Yeah. So we're approaching an hour, though, so we're going to need to hang up soon before Instagram kicks us off. But yeah, like Deirdre said, find us on Facebook, post anything you want, talk about anything you want. It's a private group, and I need to check it more because I'm not good at Facebook. Also, you can find us on YouTube, and please subscribe. We only have like 33 subscribers, guys, so subscribe and make us feel better. And once we get to 100 subscribers, then we can have a custom YouTube URL. Because right now it's just some jumble of weird numbers and letters that don't make any sense. So once we get 100 subscribers, we can call it Writers Uncut. So.
And if you have writer friends or any, Instagram writer friends or whatever, tell them about our weekly chat, because you'll stop hearing us say about the subscribe when we have 100 subscribers.
Yeah, we won't say it anymore. Also, make sure you're following both of us because every week we alternate. Every Wednesday we alternate on who hosts the chat. So I'm doing it this week. So Deirdre will be hosting it next week. So make sure you're following both of us. And that's about all I can think of right now.
Yep.
Happy writing, Jen. If you're still here, good luck on your manuscript. Get back to it. Stop taking those beautiful Instagram photos and get back to writing. And this goes for the rest of you too. Get back to writing, and I will too.
We'll give y'all some tough love.
Yes, you've got this. Do it.
You got this. Happy writing week. Bye.
All right. See you guys next week. Bye.